All right, guys, what's going on? Joe at Odyssey Offroad. Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a real quick one. I kind of wanted to talk about this product that I installed on the 2025 Yamaha WR250F, and it alleviates. Well, if you guys watched my ride review video on this, I had 3 complaints. 2 of them had to do with the seat. One of them is the seat is rock hard, and the bike's a little tall. So the factor of it being tall, I've had a couple more rides since that video. I think the suspension's settled a little bit. I actually feel much more comfortable on the bike now. I think it's settled quite a bit. And the height isn't so much of an issue for me. The seat still is as far as comfort. We've addressed that. We've ordered a Guts Racing seat with the wider seat and soft foam. So that should be really nice and plush. I just did a 42.5-mile ride last weekend, and my rear end was killing me on that seat. So, I always stand up on the parts you need to stand up on the trail, the rough stuff and all that. But there's long stretches of, dirt road and washboard stuff, and man, that seat just kills your rear end. So we got that addressed. We got that on order. It's a couple weeks before we get that in. But the other great product we installed, and there's been a few of them, we'll go over on another video. I want to make this one kind of short, but the video, this one I want to primarily talk about is this throttle tube. So it's the G2 throttle tamer I installed on here. My third complaint about the bike, and it wasn't so bad because this is a 2025 model. And unlike the previous year WRs, the 22s, 21s, 23s, 24s even, we're talking US models. I know overseas you guys already had this, but here in the US we just got it. So the map switch. There was never a map switch, which we now have on the 2025 WR. Still can't fine tune the fuel and ignition tuning on it because the ECU is still locked without a competition ECU, but you can switch between 2 different maps. And the second map is a much tamer map on the first half of the throttle, and the as far as rolling on the throttle and the power level coming on really quick. It's not as abrupt and crazy hit as it is on the map 1, and which on the previous model years, that's the only map you got. So now you get the 2. The second one is a little tamer, a little softer. And I ride it primarily in that. And now coupled that with this G2 throttle tamer, man, I tell you, this bike is a blast in all conditions. I was on that 42-mile ride last week. I was doing some sections of trail that were very slow, under 11 miles an hour. And I was just lugging second gear, even third gear sometimes, lugging third gear up around 15 or so in tight stuff, barely being on the throttle. And all that initial jerkiness of the throttle going on or off is completely eliminated. It's just so smooth and buttery smooth now. It really makes this a totally different bike. I think the 25s in general are a completely different bike, just having that additional map and the suspension settings. I've never ridden the previous years, but the suspension on this bike is really nice. I know in previous years they said some people complained about maybe the suspension being a little too racy, a little too firm. Supposedly they've softened it up a little bit more for the 2025, and I don't have any complaints. It's really, really good. And I'm running at pretty much the base settings with a couple of clicks adjustment on the compression on the forks, and that's pretty much it. The throttle, though, now with that second map was always very good. It was just the initial on throttle and off the throttle. It would go from 0% throttle to 5% throttle. That's how it felt. That has been almost completely eliminated with the throttle tamer. And what the throttle tamer does now is I even found that I can even ride on the hot map, and it's still not super aggressive right off the initial roll in of the throttle. Because basically what it is you'll see too on top of we have new grips, the Rogue grips from ODI. So we have the ODI Rogue grips on here on top of them. So, but underneath there, you'll see a little red in there. That's the throttle tube. I'll insert a video here showing you what it looks like with it off, and the throttle cable's not attached. All right, guys, so you see I got the old throttle tube off. You just kind of unscrew the aluminum clamp, pull your rubber boot back, and then take the 2 Phillips screws out, and the 2 sides of your throttle housing will come apart. You'll have your cables. You're going to undo them from the stock throttle tube, and then you can have the G2 throttle tube. This is the same for any type of throttle tube that you're putting on, whether it's lock-on grips with different cams, stuff like that. It's the same installation process. So once you get it on, you get this side on there, then you're going to get your throttle cables on, and this is going to face down. Where the throttle cables go in, it's going to face down the cam. And then once you get the cables in, you line it up down, push it in, set it to where you need, and get your grip end. In my case, handguard ends in. I took that one off, obviously you can see to do that. And then this is the stock throttle tube, which comes off with your grip, obviously, because they're going to be glued on. That's it. I mean, super easy stuff. So you'll see at the end of that throttle tube, it's got where the cable's attached, and that's like on some bikes there's like a cam you can change, and on this bike the throttle cam is on the end of the throttle tube. The G2 has its own throttle cam design, and it makes the initial roll on the throttle, so the way it pulls the throttle cable softer on the initial, maybe I would say the first third of the throttle, it changes the characteristics. After that, it's pretty normal. You know, if you want full throttle, if you want full power, you get on the gas, you're going to have it. But that initial roll on, it's going to make it softer for guys who like to ride slower, or in more technical stuff. It's really going to help you with that. And it was $62. My wife got it for me for Christmas. It was one of the things I had asked for. She got me that and a couple other things for the bike. And that thing has really transformed the bike. For $62, I think it's worth every penny and more. So I give that, 2 huge thumbs up. Couple that with the softer grips, and it was this amazing ride last week. If I had the softer seat on there, I probably would have kept riding. But my rear end was starting to hurt after that, 40-something miles. this factory seat, it's like a same seat as on the YZ, and it's just really hard seat. It's a really firm seat. It's got a little bit of give if you just stick your finger on there, but if you're just sitting flat with your butt on there, it doesn't budge much. So the new gut seat with the soft foam should be beautiful touch to the bike. So we'll show you that when it comes in. But I just want to wrap this one up here. I just want to talk about that throttle tamer. If you're in the market for this bike in particular, or even a previous year model year, a WR, it doesn't have the map switch and all that stuff, and maybe you want something to tame it down, that hit on the throttle a little bit, without investing in the CCU and the map switch and all that stuff for the electronics, just spend $62 and get that throttle tamer. I think it's a very good investment. You'll notice a difference right away. I definitely did. And yeah, so I'm not getting paid by them at all. I purchased that throttle tamer. Well, my wife did full price for me. And this is just my honest opinions on it. For somebody who's still fairly new to dirt bikes, I think it's worth every single penny. So I'll wrap that one up here, guys. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this thing washed up. I'm going to check my chain tension and all that stuff. I got a big ride coming up this weekend here. You'll probably see this video after that ride. I may or may not record that ride. I'm going to go ride with my buddy Scott up in the Phoenix area. But he's got the Husqvarna FE350W, which you've seen on the channel too. So that's it with this one, guys. Smash that thumbs up button if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. This is Joe with Odyssey Offroad. Catch you guys on the next one.